how do you develop an effective learning plan? I have a framework that I use is similar to a lot of other companies are using, but this framework is going to go to my future book called Learning Plan. But I believe that when you develop a learning plan, you got to have a learning goal, you need to have a competency model, then you need to combine different type of learning method to make sure the person can develop those competencies. And most importantly, you're going to constantly evaluate your plan to see if you have to make any adjustment, and it's an ongoing process happening year after year after year. What is your framework?
Well, it's interesting. I think that what you just described makes a lot of sense, and is very similar to how I think about it. I often start with what is it that, there are several questions to sort of get people to understand themselves before they create a learning plan. It goes back to my point earlier. If you don't really know yourself and you're not honest with yourself, it's hard to be successful. And I think it's hard to create a learning plan at that point too. So I always start with things like, what have people always told you were good at doing? What do you enjoy? Generally, if you enjoy certain things, and I try to make it as broad as I can, then there's a reasonable chance that you're good at them. I am a believer in Marcus Buckingham's, What the Great Managers Do, sort of now discover your strengths type of philosophy. But I also know that it's important for you to be aware of where you're not strong, because then you can actually, you can certainly make some improvement there, but more importantly, you can surround yourself with other team members or people who work for you who can basically have those areas covered. And so I think it starts off with knowing yourself and getting to those questions, and then really understanding what is it that you want. And I kind of fall back on my own experience in putting together a total leadership plan where I had to synthesize down into a sentence or two what it is out of life that I want. And essentially it's having a fulfilled life, and here are the things that make that for me. And when I do that, and then you start thinking about what drives that fulfillment, now I can start thinking about, okay, these are those areas where I really feel like I need to do things, whatever it is. And so one of the folks that worked for me for years said, I want to be able to be doing something where I'm making a difference in technology, where I'm known for what I'm doing. And I said, okay, that's a great goal. Now let's figure out what you need to do. You need to, and so we go through the areas. Well, if you're going to be known, the only way you're going to know anything is if you have to be knowledgeable. Then you have to have the ability to communicate it in a variety of ways, in a way that gets people's attention. So there's an aspect of communication and marketing there. And so we kind of went down the list. We created this very comprehensive training plan. And I think it was really around what do you want to be. Knowing that, over time, that may change. So you have to revisit it. And then there's the bottom line, which is how do I know that to your question about ROI, I almost refer to it as personal ROI, right? Am I investing the right amount of time in this activity to get the result that I want? And if you're not investing the right amount of time, you're not investing in the right places, it's a problem. So I try to use it almost as the plan, as almost a some way to track success. It's not just about the ultimate goal, but how am I doing on the way? So it's I don't think it's as crisp as yours, because I think it's your field and you obviously do it very well. But I like what you're saying, and I can see how there are things that from my experience that fit well with it.